War Thunder is one of the only games I've ever played that has kept my interest for so long. As a long-time member of its community, coming in and out of the game over the years, the gameplay has been getting boring to play when you play the game continuously. It got me thinking, the gameplay hasn't changed all that much. In fact, the only thing that has fundamentally changed is the game's quality of life, which has improved over the years, and the fact that we have gotten more vehicles that are increasingly unreachable for most of the community. Yes, there are more maps and more features, but the game is fundamentally the same as it was when all the game modes were introduced. Now, I know changes to the core of the game might not sit well with the whole community, but I believe a few minor changes to the game's gameplay, economy, and quality of life might go far in making the game more interesting and fun to play, as well as potentially increasing its player base, reducing queue times, and hopefully even making the snail more money. Hey, Redgofighter, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Before we get into the video, I just want to mention that I won't be talking about the game's economy in this video. There are already so many videos about the game's economy that offer some very good suggestions on how Gijing can improve the game's economy. So I won't be commenting on that, since there are people with very good experience, more experience than myself, and have put in a lot of research into that topic. So I think I'll just leave some links to those videos down in the description. But before we continue, just for the sake of it, I am going to leave a list up on the screen on what they can do to improve the economy for a few seconds. But let's start off with Air Realistic, specifically a bomber makeover. Air Realistic is one of, if not the oldest game mode in this game, and I would say it's a solid game mode for fighters and interceptors, and maybe attackers, but not so much for bombers, more specifically strategic bombers. Now, I know bombers get an air spawn at very high altitude and fly pretty much in a straight line towards their target, but this makes it a very boring and unproductive thing to do, as no real skill is created and you become a big fat target. But Redgo, that's what bombers did during World War II. But that's the problem. Bombers didn't just fly in a straight line. They flew in formation. They used their turrets to defend themselves, and they didn't just go for bases and air bases. My solution? I think we should add AI interceptors in Air Realistic, like the ones in Simulator game mode, protecting enemy airfields and bases. These interceptors won't be the brightest, and in fact won't be very effective unless the player is flying in a straight line without defending themselves. These interceptors will provide bombers the opportunity to fly like bombers, as well as force them to be more alert and earn valuable skills like aiming with the turret. The second thing the snail can do is improve bombing targets and objectives in Air Realistic. I think airfields and bases are now getting boring to hit and are very easy targets. And waiting for a new base to spawn, which they sometimes don't, has become a huge waste of time, especially if your teammates are Ju-288s, if you know what I mean. I once lost a 300% booster playing the HE-177 after my teammates wiped all of them out and they didn't respawn by the end of the match. I think Gijing should consider adding other strategic objectives and targets for bombers, such as bridges, ports, oil refineries, anti-aircraft strongholds, factories, ships, train stations. Having these objectives as either bases or independent entities and giving players who take part in and complete these objectives huge silver line rewards, not to mention deleting a huge number of the enemy team's tickets. Gaijin could also consider experimenting with giving rewards to bombers that fly in formation, as well as implementing AI bomber formations, AI wingmen, and AI escorts. Gaijin can also bring back air battles that take place in a naval setting, where air battles taking place in the Pacific Ocean in World War II from aircraft carriers and also for modern aircraft, since now we have naval jets in the American, British, and Russian tech tree. In maps that could have ships, boats, and land-based targets on islands as objectives. This gives them the opportunity to recreate real-life battles like the Falklands War and the standoff between American and Libyan aircraft. I think if Gaijin implements this well, it would pay off big time for them and make air battles in a naval setting more appealing. With these changes made to the air realistic game mode, this could give Gaijin the opportunity to add strategic bombers for rank 6 and onwards. Imagine guys being able to play the Tu-95 Bear, the B-52, and even the Tu-22 in the game. This will require changes to the air realistic game mode for top tier. The first change is that top tier needs significantly larger maps to give aircraft time to climb and gain altitude. Then I think strategic bombers must get an air spawn further forward from the airfield at a very high altitude. I'm talking about 25 to even 32,000 feet to have a level of protection against fighters and interceptors. But to counter them so that they're not OP or overpowered, I think interceptors should get an air spawn too, at a low altitude, at a low speed, near the airbase. Then once strategic bombers are implemented at these tiers, I think we can then talk about adding cruise missiles and more advanced bombs, like cluster bombs and bunker busters, which mean you can add new targets like bunkers, camps, and specific strategic buildings as targets. When it comes to Air Simulator, I also wish they could implement new objectives and bombing targets, but I also ask that they add more AI and make the airfield more detailed, and this applies to top tier Air Simulator the most. Let me explain. Simulator is a game mode that I think should allow players to experience War Thunder in a realistic setting, with real war scenarios. Firstly, they should make bases more detailed by adding parking ramps, larger fuel depots, buildings, hangars, camps, and lighting. Similar to what you'd find in a game like Microsoft Flight Simulator. After this, they should make AI support aircraft as well as already existing AI support aircraft operate out from the bases, such as reconnaissance aircraft to scout out enemy bases and ground targets and report them on the map, cargo and transport aircraft to deliver supplies to these bases. This may include helicopters at top tier, ground vehicles which receive and handle these supplies, and at top tier it also creates the opportunity to add AI, AWAC and tanker aircraft to join the game, as well as radar stations which can be valuable targets for the enemy and also be part of the objective. These AI vehicles can take off, do their missions, return to base, rearm and refuel while parked on the ramps at the airfields. So they also do stuff like taxiing. There could be a fixed number of these AI support aircraft, so if they're destroyed in the air or on the ground while the airbase is being raided, they're gone for the rest of the session, and the enemy team loses tickets. Now, some of these suggestions I'm not sure if it will suit well with top tier or will suit well with simulator at all, because I don't play Air Simulator at top tier. But I think in general they should make the maps larger, make the airfields a greater distance apart from each other, then add some bombing targets, the same bombing targets we would introduce in the realistic game mode, such as bridges, dams, ports. This would pave the way for strategic bombers to be playable in Air Simulator as well. I don't think I have a lot of feedback for ground realistic, but they can start off by increasing the spawn requirements for aircraft, because honestly, I hate it when a person with one kill or one cap revenge kills you. But it also just an extra level of stress when you're trying to be sneaky, or when you're just trying to, when there's a lot at stake. I think you should have at least 2 kills and 1 cap to spawn in an aircraft with a bomb or a rocket. But to avoid this altogether, I think Gijing should create a realistic game mode for tanks without CAS. But unfortunately, the game currently, as of writing this video, might not have enough players to consistently fill servers in such a game mode without involving up or down tiers. But I think this will encourage more players to play the game more frequently, and in the long term might fill servers enough and effectively to get rid of up and down tiers, or common up and down tiers. To attract more players, especially older players, I believe Gijing can introduce BR decompression, which might cause queue times to increase in the short term, but it will improve as veterans and disgruntled players return to the game, drawn to the excitement of new changes. Not to mention the potential increase of players as more people recommend the game to their friends, and more people stay instead of leaving the community in frustration. I don't currently have suggestions for Air and Ground Arcade because I haven't played those game modes in a very long time, and helicopters, I don't have much experience to comment on them. But I do want to talk about the game's tutorials and single player missions, which I will talk about at the end of the video. For naval battles, I'm not an expert, so take my advice with a huge grain of salt. But to be honest, I think naval is not where it can be. It's annoying and has a steep learning curve, but the learning curve isn't a big of an issue if it wasn't for how annoying it is to play. But I just want to stop and take time to congratulate Gijing for hugely improving the game mode from when it was first released. But there's still a lot of work, experimenting and progress that is needed to fix the game mode. But because I haven't invested a huge amount of time in naval, the only thing I can suggest is adding land targets, such as vehicles, artillery pieces, pillboxes, and radar stations on islands for players to attack. Overall, I think Gijing needs to make naval more fun and attractive to play. Naval has a lot of potential, and they should really invest a lot into developing and marketing this game mode. Submarines. Guys, I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed Silent Thunder. And I had huge hopes for submarines in this game, but I get why they haven't added them into the game yet. I don't think submarines will be needed in naval until naval advances to the mid-Cold War stage, where ships have more advanced depth charges and sonar. But until that time, I will have to be patient. If you look at War Thunder's matchmaking system, it is a system based off of the rating of your weapon, or essentially the rating of your vehicle. Each vehicle is given a battle rating, and the battle rating essentially tells which class of vehicle you're going to fight. If you look at the Tiger 2s, for example, they have a battle rating of 6.7, which means they'll fight other vehicles that have a battle rating of 6.7. Although there is a chance of up tiering or down tiering. Basically, you can be down tiered to fight vehicles that are 5.7s or up tiered to fight 7.7s, which is quite scary, especially for a Tiger 2 if you're going against, like the T10M. But I digress. I think this system is okay, but it doesn't work for premium players. The problem with premium players is that some premium players buy vehicles that are, I think we've got 11.0 premium vehicles, 10.7 premium vehicles, yes. And the person is a rank 5, for example, or rank 1. They're a private. They've only been playing the game for a few hours, but they want to get into top tier. I think what War Thunder should do is, for the first 10 levels, from level 0 to level 10, premium players should, if a person is using a vehicle that's greater than BR 1.0, because BR 1.0 has AI vehicles in it, they should add a server, a PvE server, or a server where there are new players with a high BR vehicle, and some of their teammates are AI, and same goes for the enemy team. Some of the players are actual players, and the rest of the team is AI. I think that would greatly improve the game's quality of life, especially in those battle ratings where the whole team is filled with newbies. Not noobs, newbies. People who are playing the game for the first time and don't have much experience. You want to give them a good experience, and you also don't want to cause veteran players playing in those battle ratings to suffer as well from having poor teammates. When it comes to tutorials, I think Gijing needs to add more tutorials. The current tutorials as they are fine where they are, especially for players who are playing the game for the first time. But I think they should now add tutorials to teach players who are joining rank 5 or rank 6 how to use fighter jets, the playstyle of the fighter jets, how to use the weapons, help set the keybinds so that they're not jumping into a battle the first time and not knowing what to do, or having to watch dozens of YouTube videos. For the single player missions, I also think that Gijing should add more single player missions, especially more single player missions from the Cold War, from the Cold War and from today's age. Like, since we have the F-111 Aardvark, they could add the attack on Libya, for example, the US attack on Libya, campaigns from the Korean and Vietnam War. They could also add from the invasion of Iraq. There's so much they can do now since there's so many more vehicles in the game. The last thing I'm going to comment on is will have to do with War Thunder's event and battle pass vehicles. And my suggestions for them is to make them prototypes and experimental vehicles, instead of using vehicles that already entered active service. I believe vehicles that entered active service are supposed to be tech tree vehicles, and if they are overpowered, they should be premiums, so that Gijing can make some money off from the game. I have some suggestions for aircraft that could be used in some events, like the American YA9, the XB51, and the XF FU8 3 Crusader 3, and for the Soviets, a Sukhoi P1, a MiG YE8, and an Illusion IL-102 is definitely something I would love to see in the game, at least at the top end of event vehicles of the spectrum. If you even look on Wikipedia, there's so many more experimental vehicles that come with some technology that wasn't proven at the time, or vehicles that I think would be interesting and fun to have in the game, because they were aircraft that had potential but never had the chance to enter service. They're aircraft that already had working weapon systems, features that could benefit the game, and ultimately I think that this would make events more fun to play. Something I don't play events anymore. I haven't played an event in years, hence why I don't have any event vehicles. But my brother, on the other hand, he's had a few event vehicles, and he stopped grinding events because the vehicles were either the same as in the tech tree, or they just weren't as interesting enough. Having a howitzer, and a howitzer isn't a good event vehicle. I don't think it's a good event vehicle. I think it will make an okay tech tree vehicle, but not a vehicle as interesting as a YA9. Like the HE177 in the last battle pass, I think they could have replaced that with an HE274, I believe. But I'll put the correct number if I'm wrong. Yeah. Well, guys, there are some of my suggestions for Gaijin for changes they can implement into War Thunder. I hope at least a few of them are implemented. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, these suggestions are my own opinion, and some of them are built on my own experience, while others are built on my idea of what that particular suggestion, how that particular suggestion would work. Some of them you may not like, but these are all ideas, and like all opinions, they may be subject to change. Please do write down your own suggestions in the comment section. It will greatly be appreciated. And let's start a discussion going in the comment section. Well, guys, thank you for watching this video till the end. You are a real soldier in this army, and I really appreciate it. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe to the channel. Next week, I will be releasing episode 3 of my Conflict of Nations series, Playing Thailand, and you do not want to miss it. Anyway, thank you and goodbye, ladies and gentlemen.